Okay. No, you can stay, of course. Stay with me and take some photos. Thank you for stopping by. I know this is a Java conference. I plan to talk about some other language called ENSO, which also serves as a no-code interactive data processing and automation tool. But because we are at a Java conference, I will do my best to correlate what we are doing and put it into context of Java. Yeah, so my name is Jaroslav Tulach, and after many years of doing various works on a Java IDE, I decided to escape to Oracle Labs and do some compiler work. And based on that, I was attracted by a Polish company called ENSO, which is developing this system I'm talking about. And now I'm doing IDE again, as I will demonstrate, but still with a strong focus on compilers. Yep, because my talk is not strictly Java related, it is your responsibility to make sure I will be talking about something you are interested in. So please ask questions. I have this little gadget here that should notify me whenever a question is posted, and I will try to react to that and then probably completely change the content of the presentation, change demos, which I try to do some, and so on, so on. Let's get started. There was a tremendous event in the year 1969. It was a small step for a man, but amazing, amazing leap for mankind. Really, what has happened back then completely changed the way people program, people live, people approach computers. Because in the year 1969, spreadsheet got invented. And yeah, spreadsheet is just a wonderful thing. This is a slide from our official presentation that we are showing to investors whenever we talk about the system we are creating. And what we are trying to say is that there are billions of people using spreadsheets around the planet. And some of them are actually taking it to a limit when using spreadsheet is no longer practical. And we would like to give them a natural next step, where to move and how to continue using or analyzing their data and analyzing their spreadsheets in a way that would be natural for them, but it still would not look like programming. Because the regular users of spreadsheets don't think that they do some programming. But I'm going to demonstrate that that's not true. We can actually do programming in spreadsheets. I just need to find one somewhere. Okay, so essential thing for a computer is to count. Can spreadsheets count? Well, yes, we can create a set of natural numbers. So basically, I can start with 0, and then I can say that into the next cell, we would like to add a successor. And because I want all the natural numbers, or at least as much natural numbers as will be handy, I will just copy the formula that I entered into A2 cell, and I have natural numbers. Now, when we have natural numbers, we can do various computations. For example, factorial. So factorial for 0 is 1, and the mathematical formula for factorial is n times factorial n minus 1, which in this case is A2 times B1. And again, if I just copy it, I get the computation. And the last example that I prepared is Fibonacci numbers, which is basically trivial. So D1 plus D2. And then I can, again, copy the formula as much as I can and see all the Fibonacci numbers. And if I'm not satisfied, I can extend it and loop a bit more. So basically, what I think, when I think about the power of spreadsheets, I think they are really perfect tool for visualizing for loops. So if you have a repetitive operation that we programmers would express with a for loop, those business users that are using spreadsheets just copy the formulas, and get basically identical result. So far, I see no questions. So what have we seen? Basically, spreadsheet is built on top of mathematical formulas. So into a cell, you can really write something that looks like mathematical formula. And in the case of factorial, it was actually really mimicking the exact formula, n times factorial minus n minus 1, which is not actually how we would program the factorial. We would probably use for cycle and multiply into some field. Oops. Oh. Yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah, it's good. Okay, so we would use a for cycle, but in case of spreadsheet, it was actually a recursive definition. So really the strict mathematical one. What spreadsheet can do easily is loop. So by copying the formula into many rows that are interconnected between each other, you get basically a for loop. And people who are using this kind of programming, they don't even know what a for loop is. They don't understand it. For them, it's just like some dependencies between some cells or nodes, and based on that, they can do something. Of course, this is not complete programming. So spreadsheets are not Turing complete in this basic functionality. Of course, if you put there macros or some other extensions, then you will very likely get something which is Turing complete. But in this simple style, it is, oops, questions. It is not possible to express a never-ending for cycle. So basically loop infinitely. So it's not basically programming where you could do everything. You have some limitations. But that's, well, basically spreadsheets show a way how even non-programmers can approach programming. And it's so inspiring that everyone is basically trying to reproduce that success and do something similar. Of course, it's a holy grail of every technological company to invent something that everyone can use, and the company can sell it to everyone and be popular, just like spreadsheet. Of course, there were many attempts. Even COBOL in the 50s was designed as a language easily approachable by novice programmers and readable by management. I assume you have never seen a manager to read a code or even try to program something. They usually hire us to do it. So many of these approaches failed, but still the need for that is real. One of the huge progenitors of this easily approachable programming is Brad Victor, and one of the you can look it up on internet and see a lot of videos of his presentations and approaches to make the programming easy to understand. But one of the things that repeats everywhere is easy use and see a response, something called live programming. So basically, as soon as you program something, you want to know is it any good? And as soon as you know it, as sooner as you know it, the better. Other problem with these systems is that in order to be approachable, many systems are approachable by novices and non-programmers. But often you hit a wall. Just like in the case of spreadsheet, where you cannot do infinite computation with while cycle, you may hit other walls in 4GLs or some other languages. I think one of the popular ones is Alteryx. And you just cannot express every computation. And sometimes you just hit a wall and you want to do it. Not all the time, but power users may need to do it. And the other thing is interoperability with existing solutions. So these days, those who can program, do program with Python and analyze data with Python. And it would be good to somehow reuse their knowledge, or at least not stay in the way. And that's the time to introduce Enzo, the programming language that we are working on. So one of the biggest mottos for our work is that it's a language with dual representation. That you can have a textual representation, which is shown on the right side of the slide, or you can also view it inside of an IDE when it looks like a spreadsheet or something like that. The language is dynamic, it has a type system, but not a kind of type system like in Java. In Java, you associate types with variables, but in Enzo, you associate types with values. So from this perspective, it is close to a Julia programming language where also the values have type, but variables have only the type of the value that is assigned to them. We have seen, in case of spreadsheet, that people are not afraid of using mathematical formulas. So also our language is basically functional. So it does not allow you to modify variables. It encourages you to express formulas, create computations that resemble mathematics. Yeah, and of course, because we need to fit into an existing infrastructures or reuse some knowledge which is available already, then it is important for us to have really smooth interoperability with Java, interoperability with JavaScript, or even Python. I see questions. Can you name companies that make good replacements for spreadsheets? Enzo, of course. One company that we are usually tackling or trying to come up with better solution is called Alteryx. And otherwise, I beg your pardon, because I don't care. I'm working on the language itself, on the Enzo programming language, and business side of the development that is for founders of the Enzo company. So live programming sounds like TDD. Well, let's see. I don't think so. I will do that demo. REPL is close. And actually, the best REPL I have seen is with respect to live programming, is for Mac, for Xcode, where you also not only evaluate expressions, but you see previews of the results, which is very, very nice. So that would be close. Yeah, REPL probably would be closer. Back to slides. So this is the visual way how the Enzo language looks like. It is composed of various nodes. Nodes have connections, and you can preview the value of a node. So this is a slide that we've been showing for a year and a half because the system was not working. We only could show the slide. But now it is, so let's try to do a demo. I'll create new project, and here I have to apologize. The initialization should be faster, but I have a bug to speed it up by 30%. I know where the code is hanging and what it is doing, but instead of fixing the bug, I escaped to this conference. So sorry for that, but okay, we have the result. So we start with a simple node which says press enter to do something. Let's change the text. And we have a text literal. What I can do is to, so we see that it is a text. It's identified on the below of the node, and I can drag a connection. And because the IDE is basically executing the system live, it knows it's a text, and there are several methods that I could use. So I will use split. Here it is. And the split method has various parameters. What I'm going to specify is delimiter, and I will use space. And I can check the result. So, yeah, the sentence has been separated. Now, what I can do is I can continue analyzing this, and I will select one of the values, which is done with add index, and maybe index 3. Again, I can check what's the result. It's word in. So, what I can do with a single word, I can turn it into uppercase. So I type case to case. Now, case option upper. We should see in uppercase, and another function that is invocable there is replace. Oh, sorry, rotate, reverse. Okay, so reversing, and now it's going to be ne, right? Of course. So this is simple, but what the system allows is also creation of functions. So if I select these two nodes and I say, okay, turn it into a function that I can reuse, I press a magic keyboard Control G, then a new function, main.function1 was created. And of course, the result is the same. But what I can do, I can actually apply it to every element in this vector. So that for that, functional languages have a map operation, and I need to specify a function, which currently needs to be done by typing. So main function1, yeah, and we immediately see the result. Yeah, so this is basically a way how programmers could use Enzo. The experience may be different depending on how complex program you want to create. Sometimes it's not no code. Sometimes it's just low code. But we have also seen that we could do a lot of the data analysis and create the pipeline just with mouse. Of course, we are not only using this IDE. Sometimes, as I mentioned, you hit a wall and you need to move further. You need to do real programming. And for that, it's really good to be able to switch into text editor. We have an extension that provides Enzo support for VS Code, including syntax and debugging. So I'd like to demonstrate that. So where is my extension here? I will show you the code which actually has been generated. So I need to go here. Now new new project, source code main. So this is basically the same code. This is the textual representation of the same program that we created in the IDE. And as you can see, it's relatively simple and readable. It's really a kind of code that you could write manually. Now let's try something more complicated. Let's try factorial. So what I want to do is to function factorial, which takes argument. If n is lower than 1, then return 1, else compute n times factorial n minus 1. I can run it, and I will, yeah, actually, that's not enough. We have the function, but we also need to call it. For example, with factorial for 7, let's say. And I can run it in debugger. Debug. Okay. Yeah. This is basically our internal build tool, so it recreates the jar files and then invokes everything. But once basically, we are debugging the Java virtual machine with a special support for these dynamic languages. And if I put there a breakpoint, we might have stopped there, which has not happened. But the thing that I'd like to demonstrate is that this really shows how close the interoperability between Java and Enzo language and also the other languages is, that you can actually see the stack trace being coming from Java, or in this case Scala, and then also mixing in these dynamic languages quite naturally. Question, great question. What about NetBeans IDE plugin? Thank you. Who was that? Don't be afraid. Oh, okay, so probably prepared question from me. Actually, this is a NetBeans plugin, because what NetBeans has done is NetBeans project has created extension that basically brings all the NetBeans functionality, code editing functionality into VS Code. So, and in addition to code editing functionality of Java, it also provides a special support for debugging these dynamic languages. So the extension that I have here is actually very thin extension that depends on the Apache NetBeans 1 and extends it to provide the syntax coloring and some bindings for Enzo. But yeah, thanks for the question. I'm glad that someone knows what NetBeans is, and that I'm somehow related to that. Another question. What about dynamic live input-output? Is there a possibility of running in steps, observe each input? Yes, there is, and I will do a demo, hopefully, if I manage to get to it, but I believe I will. Okay, slides. So we have seen how you can use Enzo IDE as a programmer, how the code looks like, how you can debug it. But of course, data people who we are targeting, those advanced spreadsheets users, don't want to split a sentence into letters or into words, right? That's not really something they do usually. They process data. And so what we have is actually a rich set of libraries that provide support for reading Excel files, comma-separated values files, reading from database or from other sources, downloading something from internet, and then presenting that to the user so the user can process it. And the abstractions there are done in a way that regardless of what is your source of data, you still can work with it as a table, if it resembles table at least a bit. And then you can always choose a visualization, how to look at the data. We have seen that numbers are represented as numbers of course, but we have special support for tables or histograms and other things like that. So let's do a demo. Spreadsheet processing. I switch to the IDE. Oh, again. And yeah, I have a project here called GeeCON X-Space. And what I can do, yeah, so this is what I prepared in case I fail to reproduce the demo. But the initial step is you take your file and you drop it into the IDE. It actually copies the file into a project directory and gives you access to it. And if we look at it, we should see rows. And these rows basically describe all the launches of all the rockets since 1961. So what I can do now, I can filter it. So again, dragging down, filter. Why not? On which column? Oh, okay, we have a problem. I'll delete this node. Because the data are not in the right format. When we look at them, we see that the first row is actually a title. So this is a very common thing, and the library provides a fix for that. So use first row as names. So now when we look at the data, the columns are really columns, and the data are data. Now I want to filter. Filter. And what is the column I'd like to see? Organization. And the filter allows me to say equals, and I know that there is space X. So I type in space X, like this. And here we should see all the rocket launches done by SpaceX and the dates when they happened. Yeah, so something like that is the usual usage of the ENSO ID. Is there a way to turn my Java library into ENSO? Or do I have to rewrite it? Yes, there is a way. I will show it, I promise. What's the reason to develop yet another full-fledged language instead of reusing an existing language as a base for the graphical tooling? That is an interesting question. When we were working on NetBeans, one of the NetBeans features was visual Swing-based editor. So you can design a Swing window, Swing dialog, and it worked relatively well. And at the end, it had to generate Java code. But then we faced a problem because some power users were not happy with the generated code, and they wanted to edit it. Yeah, but if you edit the generated code, it's really hard to load it back into the IDE. In fact, even understanding what the code does is close to impossible if you want to do it really accurately. So we basically tried to block the users from editing certain generated code snippets. Some places were okay, but in some places were guarded, and basically we prevented people to edit them. And I believe this is what you get when you use a generic programming language, which is not designed for this like visual and textual representation. But ENSO is. So if you look at the structure of ENSO program, it is using spaces, just like Python, to separate blocks. Of course, every C programmer, every Java programmer has to say, we want curly braces. But there is a reason for that, because this format is way more fault tolerant. whenever someone types there a nonsense, then you have an easy way to recover from the parser mistake and find out. So you may not parse a certain block, but you know that as soon as the block shifts back to left, a new block starts, and whatever happened before is not important. So there is always a really nice recovery way when parsing broken code. And that's basically one of the reasons why we have selected our own language. And we might have selected XML, for example, store the data in XML. But yeah, it's you cannot really program in XML. Some people tried, but it's not easy. And so why not have our own programming language? And we decided to go with that. And I'm very happy for that. Okay, another question. Versioning, I leave it to the end. The second one, I leave it to the end as well. Slides. Okay, so these days, when you want to be a data scientist, you are probably using Python. Some people are still using R programming language, but yeah, a lot of focus has shifted to Python. And for us, that basically means that we need to integrate with very popular Python libraries like NumPy or Pandas and do it as smoothly as possible. Of course, we do it thanks to GraalVM. GraalVM is a Oracle Labs project which has many different directions and different paths, but one of them is actually investigating how to write interpreters that can run at full speed of a compiled binary. And they also provide implementation of JavaScript, Python, and other languages. So what we actually are doing is we are writing the Enzo interpreter in Java, and then we execute it on GraalVM, and we hope everything will be fast. Plus, we will be interoperating with the existing languages. And we have a special syntax for that. I'm showing it on the left. There is the keyword foreign. So reading from top, type defines new type. Compare is a regular function written in Enzo, but foreign basically says, okay, the following is going to be JavaScript code in JavaScript. So create a generate.js array function, and this is the below is the JavaScript code. And the last statement there does the same thing with Python. So this is basically the way how we want to integrate with these dynamic languages. And I have a demo for that, just to make it real, which is using, wow. Yeah, here. Okay, here is it. So again, foreign function, Python, and this time we even include NumPy. And if I run it, probably there is not much need to run it. It will really generate an array of 10 random doubles by Python implementation and then display it. I think maybe it was here. No, okay. Let's skip it and to have more time to answer your questions. Okay. So that was integration with dynamic languages, but as we all know, we are at a Java conference, so we care more about integration with Java. And it's actually quite interesting, because when people design a new language, they need to interoperate with operating system. They need to call read files, create files, they need to read from sockets, and so on. And most of the languages are doing this system integration with C language. As a result, almost every language on the planet has an interface with C libraries, where you can write parts of your code in C and then just bind it to your classes or types in your language. Well, Enzo is different. Enzo is not using C interop, but Java interop. So whenever we want to do something low level, access files, read from socket, we are actually calling into Java. And we have a special syntax for that, shown on the right again. This time it's called polyglot Java import, and you can name a class either from runtime from JDK, or you can even put there your own jar files with your own classes, and then you just invoke static methods on that class, or you do name of the class .new to create instances. This is basically this is something that could be interesting for you, because it basically shows that Enzo is kind of scripting language or glue on top of Java, just like Python is a glue for NumPy or Pandas. So maybe if you want to encapsulate, if you have a Java library and you would like to expose it using the Enzo IDE, maybe you want to create a thin wrapper and just expose your functionality through Enzo types. However, I think we can do even more. So what I'm going to demonstrate now is not something that is in production, but it took me something like 20 lines somewhere to change and to get it working. So what we can do is to actually directly use Java classes. So I'll start my project. It's not, yeah, okay. And we will try to recreate whatever I already have and do it once again. So you see the process of creating it. Okay, let me show the code. So this is the code, and it is already prepared to import Java classes. So it imports Java util random and stream collectors. So by having a node which calls random.new, I'm getting an instance of a random number. If I decide to continue from that node, I see all the methods that are available on the random class. Wrong number of arguments. I don't want any argument. Next int, okay, 10. Maybe? Still wrong? No. Yeah. Let's try double. Double does something. Good. It should do something. No, it doesn't do anything. Oh, those demagogues. Now the important question is, what do I have to restart to make it work? Okay. So, okay, let's do it like this. Let's start again. Show random. Okay, so this time let's go to double first. Once things are initialized, okay, next double. Can we get a double, please? Yes, we get a double. Now, there was a question, what happens when you have data which are changing over the time? So there is actually an icon which allows you to refresh and recompute the value of the random.new node. And then basically the whole subtree of values that depend on that value is recomputed as well. Now, let's try something more complex. There is doubles function which creates a stream. Stream, yes. It has take while function, and I need to provide a lambda function. So I can write the lambda function in Enzo, but it's trivial, so it should not matter much. So taking while, and now we see it is red because streams can only be used just once. But that's exactly the reason why we have the refresh button. So now we refresh the value, and okay, we got a sequence. Now what I know is to do, I should do boxed, and again, stream is already closed, but oh, okay, I'll refresh it. And now I want to do collect and collectors dot to list. Again, we need to refresh. You can see that really Enzo is designed as a functional language, but it can work even with structures that mutate. It's just not as convenient as it should be. Anyway, we see that this whole pipeline evaluates to 12 rows, basically, and if I refresh, we will get a different result based on the random generator, because what I'm doing here is just stopping whenever there is a value bigger than 0.95. Okay, so this is a way where we believe we will evolve Enzo, and we believe that maybe it could help you if you want to expose your library to business users. Let me check questions again. Jupyter notebooks. Okay, I'll try to answer that then. But what I should mention is that the power of Enzo is only allowed by Truffle. And Truffle is a sub-project of GraalVM. And for a long time, the Truffle usage was restricted to work only on GraalVM. But with a great pleasure, I learned a month ago that the Truffle Unchained project has been integrated. And since now, all the Truffle languages can be executed on a regular OpenJDK21. So basically, if you have you need JDK21 or more. If you have your project running on JDK21 and you want to use JavaScript, Python, or Enzo, or any other language written on top of Truffle, you can. And Stepan Šindelář is sitting there, and Stepan will have a session about this, about the Truffle Unchained, tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if you are interested in knowing how to integrate these scripting languages into your JVM application, stop by. Okay, I'll move on to the closing slide. So Enzo is language and system with dual representation. And we believe that it may naturally match the needs of spreadsheet power users without providing any limits that previous systems used to have. Because we really have a reasonable, well-defined, well-implemented programming language behind the visual abstraction. And moreover, we are relying on JDK and providing interoperability with everything Java provides. And it is working relatively smoothly. We are open source, so if you go to enzo.org, you can learn more information and you can also get the code and try it. And of course, the main source of revenue for us is providing cloud hosting. But it's probably not for you guys because you can host the program yourself. But advanced spreadsheet users are not really skilled in deferral tasks, so for them it may be interesting. Okay, let's take a look at questions. Many questions, good. What is the primary purpose of Enzo? Guess it's not to build microservice. Yes, it is. Because in the cloud, we actually want to have a batch execution. Batch execution. You can actually store your program in our cloud, and if you connect to it with a REST query, it will run, compute something, and give you the reply. So yeah, the plan is to also build these kind of services. What types of data visualizations are supported? That's an important question which I forgot to demonstrate. Okay, so the other one. I need to switch to the other project, the SpaceX. So basically, well, if it worked, you could see it. So I should probably mention that Enzo allows people to use to define their own visualizations. Basically, you write a part of it in Enzo to extract the data and work with the data, convert it into JSON and send it to the IDE. And then you need to write something in JavaScript to display it. So here, if we get some data, that's good. We can switch to histogram. So these are predefined visualization that we have. Histogram, scatter plot. I'm not sure. It takes the values from the table, and I'm actually not sure which ones. If there were only two, I would know, but now I'm not completely sure. But anyway, it should not matter, and it would just matter if I can click, which is not my case. And what are the other visualization? Heat map, geomap. Geomap is nice. But it's probably not going to work. It integrates with map, so if you have latitude and longitude in your table, it would actually show you the points on the globe. So yeah, these kind of things are there. Okay, so that's for the types of data visualizations. How does it compare to Jupyter notebooks? No, I would say this is more interactive. As far as I know, Jupyter notebooks, you need to type a code, and then you can say, okay, visualize me whatever this code computes. Here, it's more interactive. You can code with mouse, and also see the preview immediately. Yeah, so that would be the difference. Versioning and collaboration in Enzo. As soon as you create a project, you can upload it to the cloud. You can say whether it is public or not. If it's public, then it actually serves as a library. Everyone else can download it or create a dependency on it and start to using it. There are many visual programming environments. Have you some comparison with Enzo? Well, we have. I don't. Definitely not here. Is there some visual graphical interactivity? There is the interactivity when you program, but the purpose of Enzo is not to create a form that you would then, or a report, an interactive report that you would give to your boss. At most, you can just share your pipeline and give it to your boss or colleagues to actually play with it and to modify it somehow and basically have the same interactive experience. But not it's not the goal to create independent visual interface. Oh, boxes have positions and can be dragged around. How is this represented in the code? Well, it is represented somewhere at the bottom. So basically, the last 3 lines of the source file are metadata, where we store information about these positions and also some other things about UUIDs. How does more complex program look? Does it fit a couple of screens and is readable? It is fantastically readable. Thanks for the question. I can show you a vector spec, which is basically our unit testing environment. So it looks something like this. 1,000 lines of tests. The biggest thing is the indentation. And other than that, it probably looks like almost every programming language.
And graph of it, the visual representation of this file.
Visual representation of this file? No, I don't want to see it. No. Thank you for teasing me. Well, usually the files that people are manipulate, the pipelines that they create are pretty simple. It's just 50 lines of code, maybe 100. Having a 1,000 line long file visualized in the IDE might actually crash it. Yeah, so better not. But we will fix it. We will fix it soon. Can I somehow embed the IDE on our web project so that it works for our data sources and is part of the UI? That's the reason I'm here. Yes, this is a fantastic question to finish today's presentation. Yes, it is, and I will be here today. I will be here tomorrow, and just stop by and we may discuss how to do it. Because, yes, certainly that requires some work, but it would be really fantastic if that happened. Thank you very much.